of members present in the chamber, and I'm calling this Human Resources Committee to order. Number one is approval of October 14th, 2024 minutes. They're in your packet. Any questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion. Go ahead.
I have a question, but I'll approve it, the minutes. One of the things that caught my attention is, excuse me, this is the HR performance report. No, I'll approve the minutes. I'm just a step ahead.
Okay, we have a motion by Martin, second by Killian. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. The Human Resources Report for October 2024. Is that where your question is?
Yep, that's where my question is. Thank you. I was just perusing the HR report, and I noticed here the vacation accrual exceptions kind of caught my eye. I know we're kind of coming up on the end of the year here, but we got quite a few people that I think we need to have some kind of resolution on this issue for at least moving forward into next year. So I know we kind of touched on this a couple months ago, but then I feel like it kind of got backburnered. So.
Yeah, I think there was 4 people that were over, and I think probably 3 of them are doing well. And the other one basically has made a deal with the mayor that with that person's time,
Okay.
with each year it's going to come. Yeah, so, but the other, I think, as far as I know that the 2 that are in my department are doing well because they've been taken off quite a bit. And the other one, I think he's doing good too, but it's that one, which is pretty the outlier. Mm-hmm. But there's a deal with the mayor to make sure those hours come down. I think it's the deal is for like a 3-year period.
Okay.
To get that below.
So there is a plan moving
There
forward.
is a plan with that.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. Thanks.
Any other questions on that? Go ahead.
Just on the report, I noticed that it usually doesn't appear that on the injury list, a cat bite, usually the type of accident usually doesn't, or injury doesn't appear. Was there something significant with this, with the cat bite, with the police department?
Not that I know of. I'm sure it was probably just a workman's comp. Nothing stood out. I've not answered any questions about
It
it.
says indemnity, I'm not sure, so does that,
I would have to talk to Ann Keenan about that because that's what she handles, workman's comp, and I'm sure that's what that is. And
I
probably,
mean, if that was a lengthy time off or, serious, or how?
yeah, I just don't know right now. I can find out for you though.
Because it's usually, we usually don't see the type of injury as opposed to the, the arm, leg, knee
Right.
type of thing.
Okay. Well, I will find out, and I'll get back with you and look into that and see, because I didn't even notice that because, again, like you said, unless it's something extraordinary, it probably doesn't stand out as to, what the issue is. But I will find out about that.
Well, just if there are other animal injury, we never, in the light of, we don't see that, and I'm not sure that we need to see that, but I was just curious.
Right, and I think that's in bounds. It's just as long as it's not the person's name or anything,
Right,
any
right,
information. But yeah, but again, I know that's kind of an outlier. Like you said, if that doesn't happen, I'll find out why it was put in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions about the report? Okay, I'll place that on file. I'm going to change the order. We did add number 6, so we'll do that before closed session. Number 6, discussion and possible approval of 3% COLA for non-represented employees.
Checking around the area, 3% was pretty much, and it's pretty much in line with the CPI or CPIU, whatever index you want to use. It's pretty much in line with that, and then with what other communities our size and our surrounding areas for that COLA. So that is what HR is recommending to finance into the city.
I know that the feds are saying 2.5% for COLA, but I also know that people are struggling to pay their basic needs. And if you recommend that we need 3% to be competitive with wages, I will certainly support that.
Question. Oh, because I know that there's some negotiations with two city unions, and my concern would be that the non-union folks are held in equality with with the police and fire department, because I don't think that it's fair, for us to be looking at the police and fire with a certain amount of increase, and then the non-union folks, with regard to a 3%. I have a sense that the unions are going to be asking for more than 3%. I'm just sort of assuming that, at least at front end with regard to negotiations. But my concern is that equality is pretty important, I think, for the city of Wausau. And I would hope that we would, since that's still in closed session, we don't have a sense of where that negotiation is now. But I for one feel, I for one would feel that the employees should know that I would at least want some equality with regard to whether you are or not in a union. And I guess at this point in time, 3% is perhaps a commonality, but I would think that we should, I'm sensitive to the fact that the unions may be asking for more, and I curious about how the finance committee and the city council will react to that.
Again, as you mentioned, we're going to go in more in depth about that when it comes time in the closed sessions. But keep in mind, especially with this negotiation, there is equity. Because keep in mind one thing, with none of our unions get steps. We, in addition to the COLA, the non-represented people also, most of them, unless they're redlined, will get a 1.5% step. So you need to keep that. That's total compensation. That has, I've had many people tell me, "Oh, that shouldn't count." Well, it all counts, So I always talk about comparing apples to apples. So if a union is getting 4% and the non-represented is getting a certain percentage plus a step that the unions don't get, that creates the equity that the city needs.
Well, I guess I would have to see that. I'm not sure that I think if we speak to a COLA, cost of living, that's across the board, and I think if I would have to see that, how that works. But that's my concern.
Okay. And again, I really don't want to get into a lot of that in open session, but those are the things that we'll talk
Right,
about. In the
I
closed session.
understand that, and that's why I am not going. The other part with that is several months ago, we had talked about the adjustments to wages that were being made. We talked of a fairly extensive discussion with regard to that, and I don't know if that plays into our discussions with regard to salary or not, but I don't think that has ever come back to this committee with regard to the adjustments that, what is that, 4.5, adjustments were made because of incentive pay.
Oh, the DPI question.
The DPI, thank you. I was searching for
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
I was searching for the exact words for that, but that is never, and I'm wondering how that also plays into into the budget and into the pay increase for next year. Thank you.
I don't know where the DPI is. We sent it back to get some recommendations.
Right, because I think the consensus was, the consensus that I took away was that this committee agreed that there should be some sort of an acknowledgement of going above and beyond. But I think the things, we also agreed that pyramiding on those, on the base salary was not the way that we wanted to go. And we also looked at, we have to define what does exceeding, what does that even mean? Again, if you have, in statistically speaking, when you look at that bell curve, the bell curve basically says that you're going to have about 80% people in the middle, which is normal. Then you're going to have 10% outliers on the high side, and then probably approximately 10% on the low side. But you're not going to have 40 or 50% of the people that should be on the exceed side. And that's the problem that we're having. So we're having to relook at all of that things because we want to make sure that it's an incentive plan and not something that is being used to one-up our compensation system. So we are looking at that. Again, but we're just trying to do one thing at a time right now,
Go ahead.
James, when do you think you might have that information? I know we had talked about that.
Your mic, I think, thank you.
James, when do you think you're going to have an alternate plan on that? We had talked about that several months ago on how that wasn't sustainable with our budgets.
Right.
And we had asked for some alternative suggestions, but we really haven't heard anything on that. So just wondering
Right.
what the progress is on that.
Well, in the interim, when we talked about budget, then what I was told is that DPIs were not going to be in the budget for 2025 because of, everyone's being instructed to cut their budgets and to do all these kinds of other things. And you just can't have it both ways. I think at a late hour, all department heads were asked to remove at least 2.5% from their budgets. And I think that was the other issue with the DPIs is that once it's going to be done, where's the funding going to come from? Because we've not had a budget for it. We just did vacancy savings. We did other things that kind of dealt with the symptoms and not the problem. So until we get a budget for the DPIs, there's really nothing that we can do. And then I was told that there was nothing for the budget in 2025 for that.
Well, I think I have an issue with that because I think that there should be something in the budget for that. With regard to my memory, with regard to our discussions last time, was that we may have had issues with certain percentages, with certain, but I think that's very important that there be some kind of what's the term that
Discretionary performance incentive.
that we should be indeed having performance incentives because I think that makes for a healthy workforce. And realizing that we've never had it before, I think it's kind of late into the season that the day before we have to approve a budget where we didn't know that this was going to happen. So I'm not sure what remains to be done, but I think that I will continue to support some kind of a performance incentive, but I'm disappointed in that. I would have hoped that there would have been some kind of of incentive for our workforce. I think that's very important for a happy happy, well, not necessarily happy, but for a good workforce. And I hope they're happy also, but I think that we should be concerned about our employees. Thank you.
This is going to go back to the COLA. I'd like to point out publicly that what residents are seeing as their wage increase, many of them are 0 or 2%. And one thing that I think is missing here, and we always talk about a full benefit package, they are not asked to increase their health insurance at all. Since 2010, they have not increased percentages of what they pay for health insurance. I think that's pretty cool, and that's a really good benefit that I will lay bets that nobody else in this city has that. So I think we have to look at the total benefit package, because we all know what health insurance, we were behind the 8 ball here. Every year that I do this in HR, we are behind the 8 ball for a 20% increase or whatever, and we go to different brokers. But they're not asked to, well, now instead of this, you have to add another 2%. So at places I work, you may get a 2% raise, but your health insurance also raises 3%, so you actually lose 1%. We have to look at the entire benefit package and not just money, I guess. There's a whole model of things that go into our benefit package that is, I think, something that does shine Wausau, that I think we do treat our employees well.
And with us not having a parliamentarian here, none of this stuff's really agendized. So I really don't know that we need to be I mean, if they want to discuss the DPIs and stuff again, we can put that on the agenda for the next month or so, and then we can deal with that, because I think we've kind of strayed into an area without having a city attorney or someone here telling us. But I think we've kind of strayed into an area that hasn't been agendized and we probably shouldn't be dealing with right now.
Go ahead.
As well with the COLA, besides them not having to pay an increase in their health premiums for the last 14 years, which is absolutely unheard of, the retirement package that the city employees have is a pretty sweet deal as well. Nothing like I'm offered at my current employer or previous employers. So when you look at the whole package of benefits, it is a very sweet deal. So I don't think that the city of Wausau is mistreating their employees at all. And I think that the benefit package that they have, if that were offered to a lot of other people out there in other industries, they would be quite thrilled to have that package. I know I would be.
So, any other questions on the COLA, the 3%? Do we have what the financial impact was?
I don't have a number,
Okay.
but I know that Mary Ann's had this figure for 2 or 3 months now,
Okay.
and she seems comfortable with it. So.
Okay. Anybody want to do, any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to push this forward.
But just to give you a point of reference, I know last year it was over 400,000. So, because I think this same conversation happened last year. Well, we don't think 3% is enough. But when that figure of $400,000 came, that kind of quieted the audience, because that's a significant amount of money. That's just for non-represented people. That doesn't count the police and the fire and transit also. So just keep that in mind.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I think the 3% COLA is already baked into the 2025 budget, so the numbers, that number's there. But I will make a motion to approve the 3% COLA for non-represented employees.
Perfect. Second by Tierney. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Okay, so now we have a closed session item. Would somebody like to read the closed session? Go ahead.
I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to 19.85, paragraph 1, sub F, considering the financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data for the purpose of considering leave of absence requests exceeding 30 days for one employee.
Second on that? Second by Tierney. Roll call vote. Gisselman? Killian? Martins?
Aye.
Tierney? And I'm aye as well, and we will come back to open session. Thanks.